CM Punk and AEW didn't fall apart because of one argument, one fight, or one bad decision. They didn't work because the relationship was built on expectations that were never aligned in the first place. What followed wasn't a sudden collapse. It was a slow, predictable unraveling. When CM Punk arrived in AEW, it was a defining moment for the company. This wasn't just a popular wrestler signing somewhere new. It was a statement. Punk represented credibility, experience, and a bridge between wrestling's past and its future. For AEW, he was more than talent. He was positioned as a leader, someone whose presence alone elevated the room. For Punk, AEW represented something else entirely. A fresh start, a company that promised freedom, and a chance to do things differently than the system he had walked away from years earlier. On paper, it looked perfect, but underneath that excitement was a quiet problem. They were joining the partnership for very different reasons. CM Punk has always valued structure, clear authority, clear leadership, clear expectations. He came up in environments where hierarchy mattered, where problems were handled privately, and where lines weren't blurry. AEW, on the other hand, was still evolving. It was younger, more flexible, and intentionally less rigid. That openness was part of its appeal, but it also meant authority wasn't always clearly defined. For some people, that freedom is empowering. For others, it feels unstable. And over time, those differences stopped being philosophical and started becoming personal. Because when expectations don't match, every disagreement feels bigger than it should. Once conflict enters a workplace, everything changes. And in AEW's case, it entered publicly more than once. After the first major incident, trust was damaged. Not just between individuals, but between management and the situation itself. From that point on, the question stopped being, "Can this work?" and became, "What happens if it doesn't?" When another incident occurred at AEW's biggest event ever, that question finally answered itself. At that stage, this wasn't about personalities or opinions. It was about control, safety, and precedent. And no company, especially one still defining its identity, can afford ongoing instability at the top of the card. CM Punk and AEW didn't fail because either side was inherently wrong. They failed because their needs stopped overlapping. Punk wanted structure where flexibility existed. AEW needed adaptability where rigidity took hold. And once trust erodes, even the most valuable partnerships become impossible to maintain. Sometimes it isn't about talent. It's about whether two visions can actually coexist without constantly colliding.